time to take counsel of your fears is before you make an important decision. That's the time to listen to your every fear that you can imagine. And when you've collected all the facts and all the fears and made your decision, turn off all your fears and go ahead. This was a driving force behind what I would consider to be one of the best military leaders, if not the most controversial military leaders of the 20th century and probably all American history, General George S. Patton. I had the opportunity to find his book in an old library, and I had to have it because I'm fascinated with military leaders, and being involved in his mind, I've gotten to see so much more of the man that is just so much more than the general or the George C. Scott edition of or portrayal of Patton in the movie Patton. I saw a man torn, a man that was one thing in front of people and another thing in his private thoughts and feelings. General Patton was born in San Gabriel, California on November 11, 1885. He grew up hearing stories about his famous military family, his ancestors that fought in every major conflict the United States had ever seen since the American Revolution. One of his absolute favorite people that he heard about was his namesake, the person he was named after, Colonel George Smith Patton. He was a Confederate colonel, and he died in battle, and his whole family, or his father gave him the impression that in order to achieve greatness in the Patton family, you have to be great in the military. You have to do more in the military. So he strove to be the best leader, commander that he could be. He went to West Point, and he did all right. He wasn't the best, didn't finish the highest in academics because he had a severe dyslexia, and he worked hard and he strove to overcome that, and he was able to graduate pretty high in his class. In 1912, he was selected to be one of the first American representatives in the first modern pentathlon, which was for military leaders and military officers to show their military skills. He finished 5th, despite a controversy where he said he shot a hole through the same hole on the target because he was using a .32 instead of a .22 like all the other military people were using at that time. He was then sent to cavalry school where he learned and he taught mastery of the sword. In fact, his sword tactics are still taught today in some degrees in sword schools and all those other things. He designed the saber that the cavalry wore in the First World War and the Mexican conflicts that we had with Pancho de Villa. He impressed General Pershing during this time, during when we were hunting for Pancho Villa, because he killed one of his personal bodyguards, and that led to him being selected as the aide-de-camp or the head of the American Forces Expeditionary Force Command Center in France during World War I. He used that and he grew in that, and when he came back from France, he was sent to tank school where he designed the plans for tank battalions and how tanks would operate in the field of battle. He made the tanks what they were, the tank crews and all that. He trained all of them. So whenever it came time for World War II came around, he was sent to Northern Africa, and he was effective against Rommel, because before then we were getting our backsides handed to us by Rommel, because Rommel was a great tank commander, but the abilities or the tactics that Patton used were able to best even the best. And in fact, it was because of the success that he had in North Africa that led the Germans to actually fear Patton. And he used that to his advantage. Whenever they went and invaded Sicily, he was able to gain more ground than the British commander Montgomery was able to do the whole time. And that also led to the catalyst of his career. He slapped a Private Charles Kuhl in 1943, and that took him back in his military career, because you can't just slap soldiers, and that was the impression by the American press and the American politicians. And he was almost lost his command, but if it wasn't for his good friend, Dwight D. Eisenhower, who he went to school with, he probably would have not have been a commander. But I think, to me, that is probably the best thing that ever happened to him, because he used that experience when he got pushed back and removed from the command of the 7th Army. He made him hungry for more, because he wasn't going to mess up again. He was going to do more and strive to be the best military commander he could. When he was given command of the foe army, the 1st U.S. Army group that was supposed to strike towards Pas-de-Calais, the Germans actually believed that's where the invasion was to come from. We used that, the German fear of Patton, to ultimately gain victory in Normandy, because the Germans were so worried that Patton was going to invade from Dover that they moved him there. Then he was, after Normandy, he led the 3rd Army to victory after victory after victory. Had it not been for that, the events of the 3rd Army and what the 3rd Army was able to do to capture more land than any military force has ever been able to do, we'd probably still be speaking German right now. Thank you.